Welcome to our culminating activity for the Indigenous Peoples Month, October 29, 2020, with the theme, Hamon ng Pandemya, Ating Harapin, Gabay ang Katutubong, Karunungan at Gitting.
Iso iti ko nanti kankana ay nga pinilot. Akas antay panagyaman iti artayo napaingan dito iti inmay mananat ko tapno iti kas napintas ko ma iti panagyaman na iti panakayalis na kan napintas mo iti datayo nga mabati ditoy. Akasanyaman ko nga napintas na inaramid na may tuloy ko na kapnagnay na iti bendisyon iti apo kadatayo. Kastanot ken ko na no sa dinuman iti pakadistinuan na napintas ko na iti sangputan na katanyaman nga naaramid na matijay ada ko mga maituloy na iti panarabay iti apo. Alangaw ang tayo ikararag na ito. Kabunyan ni nailangitan sika iti pagpudno nga Diyos, pagpudno nga nangaramid iti langit kan iti daga. Sika iti kami pagkamkamangan sika iti nang aramid iti taon tapno adda iti mangdayaw kung ka. Agyaman kami met kadag iti panunot ng kaintod iti tumunggal maysa tama ni sika iti nang itod kadag ito kat sika ngarod iti kami pagyamanan tama ni sika iti mangtartarabay kada kami nang rona kadiugad kadag ito'y nang iturturong nang runa da ito'y ardemi alakadi ipatuloy na nga mangtarabay kang kana sa dinuman iti pakayalisa na sika iti makipag-adda kang kana yamang kami ta sika iti nangisuro iti lalakay idi kastaman in pasurot mo iti amami kat adto nga nangag ni kat ang kami ikamang daytoy nga ramid mi kang ka itangag sapa gapo iti daytoy ardemi nga mangibati kada kami nga mamati kami nga sika iti makipag-adda kung kuana kabunyan nga ang kami awagan sika iti kapupudnon kami nga rod alaon daytoy kuna iti panglakayon mi idi nga kinilot sika nga rod iti pangitangadan mi tapno sika iti mang bendisyon iti ilimi nga kuldilira sika iti mang bendisyon iti amin nga tattao nga agyan ditoy sika iti mang bendisyon iti amin nga aramiden mi tapno iti maaramid mi kuma kat iti pagayakam maramid kuma matumpal dagiti planom iti panagbiag mi sika iti nangitod iti naananay nga piksa sa lunat iti tumunggal maysa aramaton ni kuma nga agtrabaho mangidayaw kung ka mangbigbig iti inaramid mo iti ilimi mangbigbig nga sika iti nangitod iti amin nga aglawlaw mi tapno napintas iti yung kanilang adon nga angin ang kami pagdalasatan kan ang kami ayanan kat sika nga rod iti ang kami pangitangadan kadag ito kasika iti pudpud na nga Diyos nga nangaramid iti amin sika iti pudpud nga Diyos nga mabalin nga mangtarabay kada kami. Awan iti mabaulan mi no di sikalaang iti kami pagtangadan nga kankanayon. Iyaman kami bendisyonan dagito nga ang kami idaton kung ka ket sikakadi iti maidadayaw. Bendisyonan iti amin nga tataom nga daditoy nang rinad dagitoy mabati ket sika iti mang bendisyon kadakwada tapno iti panunot mo ket iso iti aramidin da mangitunda iti panagispila wenno panagadal dagiti amin nga uboding ni ditoy Cordillera. Kastaman idoblik apo sika met iti mangtarabay iti ardemi no sa dinuman iti pakai destinuan na sika iti mangited iti pigsana sa lunat na ken mang bendisyon iti amin nga plano na. Tasika iti nangited iti panunot iti tao sika iti nangited iti panagplano ket maaramat ko na maipay iti pakaydayawan. Yaman kami ket idaton nga daytoy itang agsapa. Da kayo ay nang kapansin na da kayo di nanakas ng ilim binggit ya sinang Cordillera sa kadi da kayo di mangituntun sinatan sa yung kami pa anak unod dumtong kay si mabangon niya ilablab akdanan mo bayan niya ilablab ak abunan ialis data makalting kami namin ay Cordillera ya makalting kami ay ibinggit adi may pangidatunan niya tamatub at ubayan di man turay abus nas nan ilimita wayat da abu ay mangitdosin aanak mit si mabangon niya waday mangibakos abus adal nanda kami ay taga Cordillera.
Igalot yun ah. Di akong po. Kot-kot pa lang din.
Bayang magiliw, peles ng silanganan, alab ng puso, sa dibdib mo'y buhay. Lupang hinirang, tuyal ka ng magiting, sa manlulupig, di ka masisihin. Sa dagat at bundok, sa simoy at sa langit mo baka, may tinakang tulatawid sa paglayang minamahal. Ang kisap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagniningning. Ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdidilim. Lupa ng araw na luwan, ating pagsita buhay langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya dapat may mga api ang matay ng dahil sa'yo.
Simpita kamot payaw od langit.
Cradled by majestic mountains, blessed in nature's flowing fountains, blooming flowers and verdant hills, is a region of murmuring rills. Here dwell freedom-loving people, strong or bond, it's hard to topple. For our freedom we rise and fight, our priceless ancestral birthright. Cordillera, region of wonder, hail, beloved land, your name we shall not fail. Honor and fame to you will strive to bring. Your glory one we shall forever sing. Neath the skies the rains may gather, angry clouds may crazily wander, but the sun shines forever fair as we climb up the golden stair. Dreams of peace, of oneness and progress, cherished goals, our region presses, striving to build a brighter dawn for our children to call their own. not fail. Honor and fame to you strive to bring. Your glory one we shall forever see.
Our esteemed and intelligent Regional Director, Dr. May B. Eklar, our resource speaker from the Central Office, Madam Lori C. Victor, Senior Technical Assistant of the Indigenous Peoples Education Office, our IP elders and leaders from the different IP communities, Regional Office Chiefs, Schools Division Superintendents, Assistant Schools Division Superintendents, IPED coordinators, and all the other participants from all over the Cordillera administrative regions and IP communities. Great morning! My warmest congratulations to all the members of the Indigenous Peoples community who made this activity possible. The country's educational system has taken on a truly local and cultural flavor with the development and strengthening by the government of the Indigenous Peoples Education Program through various Republic Acts that has molded and advanced the welfare of our Indigenous peoples. The concept was introduced in 2011, has seen as an effective instrument in attracting Indigenous youth back to schools, where inclusiveness of education was at the forefront. It allowed members of the Indigenous communities to come together and help teaching methodologies and concepts that is consistent with the beliefs, cultures, and ways of life of a particular group. In this same tapestry of cultural affair, the DepEd started its partnership with Indigenous communities and civic groups in the year 2000 in its desire to establish an effective, responsive, and contextualized education for Indigenous peoples. This paved the way for the birth of IPED, or Indigenous Peoples Education, whose implementation has been such a success that the department has reported a rise in the enrollment of school children in the various regions where IPs reside. Perhaps part of this success can be attributed to further the enhancement of the Kinder to Grade 12 program or the K-12 program to make the program instruction and the learning modules more applicable and responsive to the needs of the community. Hence, our team today speaks of a very meaningful message that encourages all of us to embrace and strengthen Indigenous peoples community as foundations for intensifying our efforts to make Indigenous peoples education truly in the zenith of its operationalization. Now is the time to strengthen. Now is the time to advocate and use our Indigenous peoples' knowledge, practices, and systems, or IKPS, to face the challenge of the pandemic. Our practices like the Binadang, Dapay, Langay, Inayan, Painiao, or Ngilin, and among others are still in place that has tested the test of time over the years. In the department, especially the Cordillera Administrative Region, it is but high time to all the more ensure that all IP groups are well catered in all the educational services that banner inclusivity and relevance to the beliefs and practices of each and every individual tribe that thrive in our area. The presence of our empowered teachers, IP elders, who shall handle our learners and educate our communities are but still simple steps, but with great impact, as it will help in revitalizing and institutionalizing processes that caters to our IP groups in terms of basic education. May the team, therefore, be an inspiration to motivate and create more avenues through programs and activities that highlight the significance of our indigenous people's education in enshrining the majestic culture of the Cordillera Administrative Region, and that we in the Department of Education are the forefront in strategizing measures to ingrain this in the fiber of our community, where the world could appreciate that we value and treasure as a community of professionals who are proud of our IP roots. With this, may I encourage everyone to stylize our outputs with what makes us unique as a region and highlight our unique culture as a representation of who we are as a community for the world to see. Again, God bless. Matagot-tagot ako, Lusan.
Historical significance of Indigenous people celebration. The Cordillera area is believed to have been peopled some 2,000 to 2,300 years ago. The first peoples are believed to be among the first waves of immigrants into Philippine soil from the Malayo-Polynesian races. These were driven towards the interior as a result of the subsequent series of other immigrants that followed after. Habitation of the interior happened in small family groups that formed the embryos that grew into that became the tribes scattered in so many parts of the Cordillera. The Cordillera mountain range has since time immemorial been home to the indigenous cultural communities of what are now the provinces of Abra, Apayao, Benguet, Ifugao, Kalinga, Mountain Province, and the cities of Baguio and Tabuk. It has an intimate relationship with the biogeographical contours of the mountains that communities established the respective ili or village and generated and developed the respective indigenous knowledge system and cultures through the centuries. The rugged and demanding terrain nurtured these communities to be adapted and resourceful, as evidenced by the varied ways the mountains have been made suitable for cultivation through terracing until the contemporary times. The mountains' steadfast presence is mirrored in the spirit of vigorous self-determination of the indigenous cultural communities manifested in their courageous defense of their communities against 300 years of Spanish colonial rule. This shared historical legacy is one major basis for the formation of the Cordillera Administrative Region. The Department of Education Cordillera Administrative Region has taken on the challenges of implementing the K-12 from the very foundation of this reform culture as the bedrock of our education system. While culturally diverse, the gangsa or the local gang is musical instrument common to all indigenous cultural communities in the Cordillera. Its sounds reverberates around the mountains during community celebrations and feasts, setting the rhythm of their dances and other accompanying instruments, if any, to follow. The sulibaw, or the local drum, is played by several indigenous cultural communities, sometimes in tandem with the gangsa, while others it is a standalone instrument. To date, the PEDCAR has 8 schools divisions: Abra, Apayao, Benguet, Ifugao, Kalinga Mountain Province, Baguio City, and Tabuk City. Today, the inception of a seamless K-12 basic education reform came in time for us Cordillerans that crafted our very own IP education curriculum, one that captures the dream of a culture-based education system and builds in us Cordillerans, young and old, that pride in our cultural beginnings as we pass these from generation to generation. With these developments, we see IP education in the Cordilleras as a common concern. We are witness to this strong determination and continuing support of all systems so that every year we all together celebrate these efforts with our ancestors and communities, a milestone that we will be proud of, a culturally appropriate education anchored on the national trust of the K-12 basic education reform in the Cordilleras. Age to age, we look forward to Cordillera children who will continue to celebrate our way of life, typical of our Cordillera identity, who welcomes the challenges of a multicultural and changing world and who will be a part, if not better, than their global counterparts. Thank you.
Kolipsiko lilipan, kolipsiko lipanan. Kabunyan ay wadadaya, na ay kami ay pamilya. Sinan amin deped Cordillera, mangidayo min yaman kensik kolipsikol lilipan. Man nakabalin na santuan ay ama, kanayon ay makiibib sinanligat ya problema. Ya ananay pandemya kolipsikol lilipan. Basbasol mi pa kawanan, dalos ang puso yanam. Pagngam kumanan tong galsa, ay naidi malas lasian kolipsikol lilipan. At damda kami apo kabunyan, pigsa sa lunat ay lumaban. Sinansakit ligat inkama laklak sikalang na kami suman sa dagan kolipsikol lilipan. Sapay kumatay taay pandemya, mintultuloy amay ay kultura, panagbibinadang panagkikinay nga. Min kakailian, min katribuan ken pamilya kolipsikol lilipan. Kenda kami ay wadasi dokasyon, at damda kami nalangitan na inspirasyon. sa matungpal ni pawit mo ay misyon. Kinamayan unong anak ay di nung dungong kulip sikol lilipan. Bendisyonam ng Cordillera, Mountain Province, Benguet, ken Kalinga, Ifugao, Apayo, Yaabra, kinasasangam kasasangay pamilya, ilising sinaay pandemya, kenam inay ki nadam ka kulip sikol lilipan. Dani na kidawan mi kabunyan, amami ay nailangitan, amami ay nasantuan, kabunyan madaydayaw ka ay usang kulip sikol lilipan. Amen.
Because to them, land is sacred. It is the most important asset. We take great pride in their persistence in nurturing our indigenous knowledge, handing it down from generations to generations. We take great pride in their devotion to who they really are, in preserving our identity, which makes our existence meaningful, because we can proudly say we have our roots. A home to some of the numerous indigenous peoples group in the Philippines. But sad to say that with the fast-changing world, some of our IPs nowadays face a different kind of struggle, the basic right to live a decent life. Our local government units in Apayao acknowledge this need, especially of our Agta brothers and sisters. That is why, under Presidential Proclamation number 766 and House Resolution number 23, a settlement site for the Agta, reserved as Agta community, was established and is situated at Lora, Apayao. This encouraged agricultural activities in the area and gave rise to their population. At present, there are 87 households, 51 of which are Agta families, 27 are Isnag, and 9 are Ilocano. Along with the provision of their habitat is the provision of other social services. In the mid-1990s, the barangay hall was built, following the opening of the daycare center in 2004 and the Balasi Primary School in 2005. In 2013, the school became a complete elementary school with 2 permanent teachers. And to this date, there are 4 permanent teachers catering to 59 kinder to grade 6 learners, 47 of which are Agta learners. As early as 2012, the school became an iPad implementing school.
Enroll na la 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 la. Tara na, enroll na la 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 la.
Ituloy tayo nga rod, ading, iti agyaman ti Apoy ti kinaimbag na, kada tayo, tagda tayo amin. ipa dito. Kada kadimit ken now awat yung intultulong iti barangay officials kada kayo kada iti panawen iti pandemic. Anda ma'am, kada iti groceries bagas ken kwarta ma'am. Nasayat gurud ading iso nga uray kayo mo kasi iti sasaadon tayo ket makita nga hantay yung agbinbin na iti tunggal maysa iso nga rod nga adda kami dita kayat nimot nga kumustaon dagiti anak yung agbasbasa no kasanumod ti karirit na yung kada ito'y modular learning kayo. Narigat ma'am. Manang ken mano kanya pedigiti importante nga rod nga impakaamuda tatluhan ti maakaran kada ito nga sakit nga COVID-19 nga digiti pakaamuda dapat ito yung obraen tatluhan tayo nga maakaran. Social. Paisod ako ng anting talagang masapol tayo nga agbugo, sakbay tayo nga makipatangkan, nagiti gaskan nga kapatangan tayo. Uray na umay kay diskwela, damot ti pasibilidad tayo, nga mabaling tayo nga usaran nga pagbugwan, sakbay tayo katungtungan ni Jai, nisra nga mapantay sa lantaran. Ayan.
Kan may isa nga balakad kumanang, kanayo na niyo ti agbugo. Ken punasan ni ti imayo itinadalos nga lupot. Adda na itugot mi nga sang kabasit nga face mask, sabon, ken alcohol. Imbagto lang nga nayon di kita usarin nyo. Thank you ma'am. Kano ag module ti anak mo ay ket alcohol ang ida tapnon ti kasta. Dije to submit da nga module ije school ket sigurado nga na-sanitize. Data ti idaldalagadang iti DOH, yung iti membro ti IATF nga dapat ditelip-lipatan para matlaing iti salaknid kayo itong galmay kaya. Yun nga. Basilmat nga yaman ni iti tulong yung kadasan ni Katutubong basta matulungan yung kadasan. Kumusta mat nga rod ti karirit na yung kadigita nga module nga umay itag ka na kayo digito'y kakadwami nga mamay-stride ti balasi. Narigatan kami ma'am. Deputahan lang pa mo tagsurat dito anak niya lalo dati finger ko. Ang isuro. Kasi ka nga ading Freddy kasanumad ti marik ng kadeta.
Narigatan lang rin ma'am. Lalo sa kinder ke awan ti mang subaybay ka na din.
Ladies and gentlemen, presenting to you the Gabay sa pamilya aking umiling.
Ayo abit, tumpay mas good. Awawa tumpay ng kawan sinay na palabsit ay kuba mo. Yung sisingkot ka anak.
di bakon.
Ilimi ay karunduntugan, anawi si Panpandanan, bakon di rebut-bugaw, ay ngadan silang kalimbitan.
Ilimi ay bakon, nabaknang si Danong. Indawat Diyos ama udaya, tamanragon hinanhan na.
Namahato ay duntog, para tungon bulan tikilan, karangan iskilahan, ay kagaan ganatak ay naikuan.
Ang siyalayan na nanangit yung ulay gawi si pamilyada, ang wida tansay kadaan iugla, tansya limada.
Nagpatagaan ang andawat na iugla, kanadim kasisayag si Diyos Ama, ay manunginaw na tapo ay nangakla. Sinay ni baga, na kayo ay iba.
Anak yung kayo man sagana, ang ina, balangan tapos daiga, na matumpad ng ilaw at nagera, na matapian di tinongda. Pasiluman makaturpusda, yaman serbidan bakon ay ilida, panagsuporta, panagtulong, panagpapigsa si Ibakon. Tumbaga, Ibakon.
Ay 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 ugayam galayaman ugayam galayaman apumion kabunyan sikapangat dalosan na idipun
Wis ay agot ako amin. Inmalik kami ito ay sinasawa sa sigatan, siya sibangan. Malik kami ito. Tunan mansapos tapoy. Ngunit ka na mansapos tapoy, munpuntaw mo na isang sa likod. Tatat sambon ng payong. Ayan, ito ng payong minsang adong. Nalpasay na sama, maitunod ng pagoy. Ito ng pagoy, siya na ng pagoy. Ngayon ko na yun di ko. Diyan Katutubong. Kanyo ang muli. Kadyak mo ang muli. Tanunin sa po, after 6 months, maani. Tunod na ani, ibilag mi, ganay maango. Nalpas ay maango, bayon mi. Kami pa'y tapan, ganay makapo si sa likod.
Kada nalikan di ipugawad kasin, ay manbayo di nagasda.
ka naman kagabi. Dikit.
Sana ay pinit sinang kaldero, tapno makalasaw. May utuot, sinan napasgada na yung puya day.
Ya, rasal deh. Tulisan di manang putih kan mana. Minsan lang ay maarasaw ng bagas. Tapno arik kakaanan na gusto ng himas di bagas. Himas di wah. Studi. Masabol at adunan diket nunan danog. Nuwabali ng sukat ng bagas kot di diba kasi ti sukat ti bagas ti diket nasawal kasi kumati danom kaguduan santan ano tayo sangkok kalaban tapno mauto.
Yun. Perfect ang pag-flashlight.
Ipus-ipus na, tapno. Way ikanay may linay kano. Mayat na ni kanay may linay sandikat ay doy.
Nay nauto.
Nauto. Mabanaw. Banawan.
Awan pay.
Kahit na nakautuan na.
Lang. Ngay kagataytan.
Ika man. Ipatungok. Iganang kasi ko ang tempat din ito.
No.
Ay kabil sina, tapno nalaklakanan, mabaawan na. Mabaawon unay usto-usto, santo, may kabilsan, bubod.
lawas ng bulong di saba. Tap na di lumsep na sinan ano kung kanan nyo sa nilaga.
Sapay ka mo, ikaw isidi.
Sapay ipisinan.
Gusugusa,
Sugusugan. Hindi, nani ka naman bubod. Basta kumukum sinan imam.
That's the original way
Asa nani ka naman bubod. Masapol mabakmukya. Umurin, o adik kamuk mo kayo sto, mabali. Tayo lumanong tungod lang. Nailimay agunat, iko'y takot sinan gusi. Dahil nanusato na may preserve no kananan sa ituon o kata ituon dipindisan kanan ng tapoy. Nanusato ng gusi. Di kabugis, di kadadaan. Dapat nan pinagkareb masapon may disumngaunan saged kumukos punut adikages
Adika bali na ilan na.
Di ba bali na
Adika bali na luklukatan tay kwa lawa.
Nasapol no malukatan na sapol waran amay manglupat.
Ang basta-basta ya.
Tay dinay tinawi.
DepEd Kalinga is taking steps and initiatives for curriculum development for Patri in Pasil. This is in response to the promotion of the iPad program to intensify advocacy and teaching and to incorporate the rich IKSPs of Kalinga to the basic education curriculum. It is also our response to the senior high school program like the backstrap weaving in Lubwagan Senior High School to offer contextualized curriculum which suits the needs of different tribes and are unique to different communities in the province. The IKSPs are local knowledge, skills, and practices developed over centuries of experimentation and are passed orally by our forefathers from generations to generation. These IKSPs are found to be important catalysts to sustainable development due to their direct connection to resource management and conservation of the environment, as well as to the way of life of the indigenous peoples. For DepEd, this need to be properly documented and be taught effectively in the schools to promote and sustain the tradition, and for the younger generations to appreciate what our ancestors had lived for and had lived by. In this productive endeavor, DepEd takes the initiative and the lead in close coordination and partnerships with concerned individuals, groups, and government agencies, recognizing the inspiration and the great role and contribution of the Council of Elders and the full support of the local government unit. We will be able to realize this dream for Kalinga learners and will also serve as lasting legacy for education for the generations to come. Matatago-tago tako Lusan.
To our comrades and friends from the DamiKnow YouTube channel, we are deeply honored to have chance airing with you our ardent desire to promote the IKSPs of the Kalingas. Of course, with the advent of the DepEd Order number 62 Series 2011 adopting the National Indigenous Peoples Framework, Indigenous peoples from different places were given the chance to enhance the curriculum by contextualizing it to make it more accessible, relevant, liberating, and responsive to their needs. Kalinga, as one of the indigenous peoples provinces, espousing the contextualization of the K-12 curriculum, with the help of the SDO managers, is on its way developing unique curriculum in pottery to preserve the IKSP of the indigenous peoples of Pasil, which is one of the best IKSPs that need to be passed on to the learners and the future generation of learners. This is one of the banner programs of the SDO, Kalinga, integrated in the Indigenous Peoples Education Division Plan. Noted in the history of this SDO, this is one of the initiatives taken care of during this pandemic, which is much relevant to the theme as we celebrate our IP month. Hamon ng Pandemya ang Harapin, Gabay ang Katutubong, Karunungan at Gitting.
In response to the observance of the IP month celebration with the theme Hamon ng Pandemya, Ating Harapin, Gabay ang Katutubong, Karunungan at Gitting, we humbly portray one of our KSP video documentaries, which is the curriculum development of our pottery through this DamiKnow YouTube channel. As part of our division initiatives, this curriculum development for pottery is one of our banner programs for the IPN of SDO Kalinga. Since Kalinga is one of the producers of clay pots, we wanted that this will become part of our contextualized curriculum so that the concepts, the history, its significance, and the development of its skills shall be passed through from one generation to the other. At the same time, this will also address our desire to offer a contextualized curriculum in our senior high school programs to cater to the unique needs of our communities. We shall then continue doing more with these efforts as we continue working with our elders, particularly our pottery experts.
itatamid tadi.
Lalo.
Ang kataman raw, untay ka pa soblatin. Oh.
Ay pahinay nga lod. Hinay.
Maudi wan siya ni papoy mo.
Salam.
Diyan sa paghugat mo lang adi pa naman.
Salam.
Sige, ulay man itamid mo na. Ta medyo mata kawayat na sa day.
Culture speaking to and furthermore on what tribe they're from and what they've been accustomed to as taught by their elders. Nevertheless, the history is more or less standard. Pinikpikan began as a means of food hunting by the tribes from the mountains. So these are our ingredients for a typical or traditional pinikpikan. So we have here a native chicken, inasin or itag, chayote, ginger, and salt. Cooking pinikpikan is somewhat similar to cooking tinola. First, boil the chicken with the spices like ginger, pepper until chicken is cooked.
Mambayong bigbigat ka kuno sang kakailian. Susunod, mambayo ta kun si pagoy undekot. Tatakan ta ko ginamang undekot. Lumagampot matatag asitopan. Bayuan si lusong. Topan ogos asi dogason. Magampot madogas asi topan. Manekot ta ko inandila. Uponon sa binayo undekot si danom. Lukumiyad dekot, iga si damos ta naibkisan. Lumamagaan, makwaon tampukon. Lumagampot matampuk, tamayon si danom ta timbukayon. Pupilan sa lao si dekot, un maimpis. Iga si kandelo dekot ta paluwagon. No nauto, kaanan sa dekot si kandelo, ikwa si labnak. Kad asi ukisan. Asi kuan si ladok. Susunod, wayo tamahan tako si inandila.
Lipos ka, kalingga lagunawa. Napipintas kan napapahog ka, napopostol kan madiskarte ta. Papaita undan eskwela, tesiyain bilinda amakan ina, ilangkad ng banaganda. Awat losan kewa agam. Abangan niyo't kalingga, losan niyo at yalibog ka. Kalingga ulat kong nawa, respeto takong losan dira. Awarsa ng kaya, kaskasiliun ng ibagka. Nipun pulos ka no, nataynan, napipintas on kailian. Adi na punin tiga mo, kalingga unlag kunawa. Mapola kanda inadalda, tain kaligatan daw na nung eskwela. Abangan niyo't kalingga, losan niyo at yalibog ka. Kalingga ulat kong nawa, respeto takong losan dira.
Taku utikan kanta o santifipoyon taku ni kalingga. Malalaok kung uto na
Hulusan,
nainon di manuto si Dinongol, unti onday, kalingga si Away, nga nasinsali. Oh, sakbay uning tako itisok simbangan, anaya da Indigenous, di mangwasi Dinongol. Naya sa keso, umubo si da kakayon na yango. Naya ha keso. Sa ngonlot, naya konlot, tumubumit lang sida kayon nangu anaya sa dadang di baka. Naya sa pulbasa, mampapigsa si otapon di tago. Anaya sa busa di kawayan, winu labong. Anaya sa pukol. Anaya sa angudong. At naya sa palok di iyog un idoga takno na tiya-tiya. At anaya sa gusto una mampapiya si Dinongol sa sili, winumangit. Oh, isok ko ng danong si Banga. Neda, nagsaluwa. Ha, keso. Ha, neda, keso. Malunusa. Ngonlot. Magandang di baka. Yan. Kadalasan. Bagoong. Oh, nahalaya na, yakilakap na. Lumala sa piyan na tigo, yung banga. Bitana. Yakan si gapat, amo napiyak dyan. Oh, naitisok mo kadrohanon. Uwayang takuon, mauto.
Mali kayo tamang ko.
Naimbag ngagsapa kadatayo amin. My being with all of you over the past 3 years have provided me an opportunity to not only be a witness to Cordillera's beautiful landscapes, rich, vibrant culture, unique traditions, and amiable people, but most importantly, to be immersed and be included. I am a Cordilleran, and I am proud of it. This pandemic may have pushed us or even forced us to reshape our routines and relations and rearrange our wants to what is essential. But the COVID-19 has provided us opportunities as well to be at our best as Cordillerans. Thanks to the values and virtues our forebears have taught us. Indeed, our resiliency to this pandemic is owed much to what our forefathers have dutifully passed on from one generation to another. These lifelong knowledge, systems, and practices helped us in reconfiguring how we can continue to provide essential basic services to our people. Our binadang or the Cordilleran Bayanihan, for example, has been our chant that continues to reverberate across everyone's hearts and minds. Our different ethno-linguistic groups may have different terms for it, but it redounds to that sense of community and the obligation of helping one another, especially in times of needs or crisis. We have seen and felt the involvement of our stakeholders in helping us through this very challenging school year, which basically was far different from the previous years. And that strong support from our stakeholders inspired us at the Department of Education to never give up and will never give up, for we cannot let down the more than 24 million learners enrolled in our schools. In the case of the Cordillera region, we have more than 400,000 learners who are now benefiting from that shared responsibility of providing education through blended distance learning. We acknowledge that difficulties will continue to challenge us, but we are confident that together we can fight this battle, survive, and emerge victorious because that is what our forebears taught us to be united and resilient. Our unity, our resiliency, and our efforts today will set an example for the next generation, which will guide them as they venture towards their future, reshaped by circumstances such as this global health pandemic. Therefore, we must sustain this momentum of being challenged but inspired and let the Cordilleran virtues and values, as well as our learning experiences in this global health emergency, be our armor and artillery in embracing the new normal. Sa inyo pong lahat, mabuhay kayo.
Warm greetings to DepEd CAR, ably led by Director May Eclar and Assistant Director Florante Vergara, to our guests and partners who are listening in as we celebrate the culmination of our Indigenous Peoples Month. Again, warm greetings and thank you for this opportunity to be with you. This chance to be with you is for me not just a matter of sharing a message, but it is also a way for me to connect with home after so many months of being here in Manila. So again, thank you for this opportunity to be with all of you as we once again remember what this month is telling us about ourselves and about the experiences that we are undergoing now. I guess in the words of our elders or maybe even some of our community members, this is a time of hardship or difficulty, what I think we call rigat. And when I think of the word rigat, it feels to me like a situation that is definitely part of life. It is a situation that is calling us to touch base with the deeper meanings that will allow us to continue despite the seeming uncertainty and lack of finality that we are facing today. This month is an interesting month for us. This is the first time we are celebrating Indigenous Peoples Month, coinciding with the opening of classes. It is also, now at this time, it is our first month to experience what it is like to run our classes, to run our schools, to run our offices full blast, with all the responsibilities, with all the tasks that are lined up, in a situation that is so unfamiliar, in a situation that is so complex, so volatile, so unpredictable. And after a month, 4 weeks, maybe this is already, yes, this is our 4th week. Perhaps we are already feeling a better sense of the extent of what this situation and what our mandate is asking of us. And for sure, we feel the weight of it. It is definitely not easy. When we started this early this October, while we had our pilot runs, we still did not see the full picture, the full extent of what we will be confronting or what we will be engaging. But now, after 4 weeks, I think we have a better sense of the difficulties, the things that we did not anticipate, the questions we have that probably remain unanswered. And maybe what is more challenging in what we are confronting now is we are not really sure how things will turn out as the months unfold. Maybe that is the most difficult part of the situation we are confronting today. I have been trying to reflect on our theme about Katutubong, Karunungan at Gitting. Harapin natin ang Hamon. And at times when I feel that weight, which I am sure we are all facing, I try to put myself in the shoes of our elders, the shoes of our earlier generations. In my memory, at least, I can still connect with our veterans, with our grandparents, older uncles. I would try to put myself in their position and ask myself, where did they get their strength and their resilience to continue in a time when it was also probably so confusing for them, and each day was one that was uncertain, one that was always weighed down by some fear or some anxiety, or not just an issue even or a concern. It's more that sense of anxiety that is there. You don't know what will happen next. You don't know when the enemy is there. In this case, our enemy is not human. Our enemy, or I would rather say, what we are contending with is something that we are still trying to understand. And in a situation like this, it is not going to be effective anymore to even think sometimes in terms of an enemy, because it's not as if we can kill this enemy. I think what this situation is asking us is, yes, no, how or where will we get that strength? So again, as I said, I was thinking of that Karunungan and Gitting, that wisdom and that principled courage. Where did that come from? For our elders, for our ancestors. So in a way, we are being moved by these circumstances to look at ourselves and to come to terms with what really is our source and our basis. On what basis or on what foundations are we continuing each day while we embrace these different challenges that are before us? Again, as I said, I try to imagine our veterans before they were hiding in the mountains, grappling with the situation at that time. And while we are being asked to move inward, as perhaps they also did, the source of strength turns out to be how we are connected to each other, how we are connected to our wider community, how we relate with the history that we are part of, what we have inherited. We are moved to connect with the goodness that we see day in, day out, despite the difficulties. We are moved by the acts of courage, the acts of generosity, the acts of giving, the acts of selflessness that we see around us. We are also moved by our learners, who we can sense are also looking for a sense of hope, perhaps, a sense of assurance that things are okay, even if there are so many things we are uncertain of. And so, it seems that the wisdom of our ancestors, the wisdom of our elders, comes from their willingness to see through the situation, to confront themselves and to ask themselves, what is it that are the most essential to continue on, and to relate with all of that that is essential, to relate with all of that that is life-giving. And so sometimes I find myself here in the office and remembering our mountains. I guess for me, our mountains are, it's not just a place. It, for me, evokes not only memories, but the presence, a sense of presence. The presence of those who were there before us and the presence of those who will come after us. I look to our mountains and they help me remember all the acts of courage that they have witnessed all these centuries. I remember the mountains and I sense a certain strength in the solitude that I am sure our elders and our ancestors also sensed. The mountains help us remember that life in the mountains is one of give and take. It is one of planting and harvesting. It's an experience of grace and grit. It is an experience of intense interaction with all that is around us. Our elders and our ancestors would not have been able to continue the life of our communities if not for that deep engagement or that deep interaction with all that was around them. And so, as it was with our elders and ancestors, now it is our turn. It is our turn to embrace this situation that is before us and to be willing to see through this situation not only for ourselves, but for the younger ones, the next generations that are coming after. When I try to be in the shoes of our learners, I sense that more than the lessons, the modules, that they are also struggling to learn and to make assignments, or maybe if we ask them to make projects. More than that, what they will most likely learn as we see through this situation is what we reflect as we move through each day. Will they see how we moved in community to be able to bring together our strengths so that we be able to surmount these challenges and difficulties that we are encountering? Will they see in us a sense of conviction that even if there are limitations, it does not mean we are defeated? Will they see our sense of generosity, that even if sometimes there are moments when we want to just give up in frustration, or just to maybe be angry, or just be frustrated, they see in us that moment of breathing in, that moment of pause that allows us to again touch base with our inner strength and then take that next step to transform that frustration or that anger or that anxiety into another step forward, which is for them an example of hope and faith and conviction. Will they see in us how we value what will be for the common good? How we are willing to extend ourselves for something that will benefit all. I think these are the things that ultimately our learners can learn if we are able to make these life examples for them. Living these life examples will definitely be a challenge. But it seems that is the call of the times. And if we are to grow in courage, if we are to grow in wisdom, there is no other way but to go through this situation. And somehow, in the process, the wisdom and the courage of our ancestors and elders will hopefully become our own. And interestingly, I think this is what it means to live in the 21st century. More often than not, we tend to think of the 21st century in terms of technological advancements, in terms of additional frontiers that we're exploring, and it is also the case. But maybe this is the other side, or one of the other sides of the 21st century. And maybe it is a grace that we're experiencing this, so that our learners will also learn the realities of the 21st century. They will not be in the illusion that it is all frontiers, that it is all technology, that it is all one gadget after another, or the stretches of knowledge. I mean, that's part of it, yes. But as our ancestors have been teaching us, as our elders have somehow shared through their life stories, Rigat is part of life. Rigat is part of our realities. And so, again, as we culminate IP month, let us bring with us these learnings and let us take time to continue reflecting. Again, we are asked day in, day out, to touch base with what is fundamental and essential for us. And hopefully, to radiate through our actions, through our disposition to our learners, our faith, our conviction, and our stand that life continues under all difficulties, in times of joy, in times of pain, life continues. And for us in DepEd, a way of expressing that sense of hope is to ensure that the learning process, the very way for us to grow into wisdom and courage, must continue. Again, thank you so much for this opportunity to be with you. I'm now wondering if I made sense, but yeah, let's feel our mountains together. Let's ask them to whisper to us the memories and the wisdom of our ancestors. And hopefully, in the next 7 months, that we are to embrace and to see through each step of the way, each day, our ancestors and our descendants are with us. Again, thank you, and warm celebration of our ancestors' wisdom and courage be with us.
Gaya, muggayam, gayaman. Nai kami ay manyaman, uggayaman, galayaman. Isnan ka na marswan, uggayam, uggayam, uggayaman, galayaman, uggayam. Ilimi ay kaduntugan, uggayam, uggayaman. Gawis ay pantean uggayaman.
No bumangon kami, isnan
nagsapa at imo kilang mi nan mata kagagasing di man buya pinaswam ay kaeet nga isnan ilimi ay indawat mo waday urnos gawis dadlo daten mo da kami insagutan kultura si ay ayowanan iday yung mi teteway yaman mi iday yung mi teteway yaman mi ay taan mi kumapay es-este nan binadang ay makwani ta kumang yaman tultuloy panag-es-esan di umili asit na'y kaali pestis ng ilis sin kaatikan yan nan waras sakit sin umili begaw at kaiman sin agyat wadanan adi makaawan ngem iyaman pay sin adal di inayan taan kami nan kikinaawatan iday yung mi teteway yaman mi iday yung mi teteway yaman mi
The celebration of the Indigenous Peoples Month may close this day, but not the essence and significance it brings to us as Cordilleranans. The messages and presentations embody the rich culture, the unifying values, unique skills and practices, the very persona of the Cordilleran, strong, brave, resilient. Thank you for being a part of this program today, for making this day possible, for your time, effort, resources, from the preparation to the actual conduct of the activity. Your taking part in this occasion added meaning and richness to this symbolic undertaking. Most of all, thank you for inspiring us and sharing with us that pride and joy, that gratitude in being a Cordilleran.
Begsatsan kay gorotan Nilay layading kabunyan Manipud pa'y langsin kaisan Babaan din kaapuan Si kabunyan inted nahan magaling Bakayla sinang di puli Yan susuro hay nasudi Di iba inano iakni Sinusuro ken adan moderno man ken kadanan adin ako madangganan kultura ay kapintasan lubaybay aming kultura mapukaw mo dadawan dadaman maningling ang tromet no sino ka sandugin di istorya Ladado ay ugali ayot sana panang sanga ili kooperasyon ken budbudong likam di biyag ay nabano san ugali enta ko piliin